Well, it's 6:30, and I'd like to call the July 25th, 2017 meeting of Milledgeville City Council to order. I'll ask by asking the clerk to call the roll, please.
Mr. Chambers.
Here.
Mr. Reynolds.
Here.
Ms. Shinholster.
Here.
Dr. Lee.
Here.
Mr. Mullins.
Here.
Ms. Walden.
Here.
Do have a quorum. At this point in time, I'd like to ask everyone to join me as we stand for the prayer and the pledge. Bow your heads, please. Dear Lord, grant us the humility to seek your will in all that we do and say. Be with us in our deliberations and help us to be wise in the decisions we make for the good of those who have placed their trust and confidence in our leadership. Thank you for being our source of guidance today. Amen. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much. So you've all received copies of the minutes of the July 11, 2017 council minutes. Are there any corrections? Do I hear a motion to adopt?
Motion to second.
Have a motion and a second. I'll ask the clerk to call the roll.
Mr. Chambers.
Aye.
Mr. Reynolds.
Aye.
Shinholster.
Aye.
Dr. Lee.
Aye.
Mr. Mullins.
Aye.
Ms. Walden.
Aye.
That motion carries. So tonight under old business, we have two public hearings on the agenda to consider. I'll lay out the ground rules for both, and then council will consider each individually. Procedure for these hearings will be as follows. Once it's been determined that the hearing has been properly advertised, the clerk will read the proposed amendment. We will then hear from the advisory decision of the Planning and Zoning Commission. Council will first hear from the applicant and any persons who would like to speak in favor of the amendment. Council will then hear from any person who would like to speak in opposition to the amendment. We will then give the applicant an opportunity for rebuttal. Rebuttal must be limited to points or issues raised by opposition. First public hearing to consider tonight is ordinance O-1706011 to amend the Land Development Code to rezone property located at 540 South Jefferson Street from SFD to MR2. On a side note, I need to announce that we have Dr. Lee from District 1 who has identified a potential conflict of interest from a family member living on an adjacent property, and she's been advised by council to recuse herself in this decision. So at this point in time, I'd like to ask the clerk to read this ordinance by caption.
Ordinance O-1706-011. An ordinance amending the ordinance passed and adopted on the 10th day of December 2002, known as the Land Development Code of the City of Milledgeville, Georgia. Ordinance rezones property located at 540 South Jefferson Street from SFD to MR2.
All right. Considering the fact that these properties are adjacent to one another, we can have a public hearing on both properties simultaneously unless council has an objection. Hearing no objection, I'll ask the clerk if he would read the resolution 01706-012 by caption as well.
An ordinance amending the ordinance passed and adopted on the 10th day of December 2002, known as the Land Development Code of the City of Milledgeville, Georgia. Ordinance rezones property located at 210 East Screven Street from SFD to MR2.
Has the public hearing been properly posted and advertised?
Yes, sir, it has been.
So at this point, I'd like to recognize Zoning Administrator Mervyn Graham to provide a report and to include the advisory decision of the Planning and Zoning Commission on both parcels.
Good evening. Both these parcels will be combined together, and they're hoping to put approximately 7 townhomes on the properties, and it was unanimous to approve.
Thank you. Is there anyone present who'd like to speak in favor of the amendment? You come forward and speak your name and address, please.
My name is Randy Daniel. I live at 2571 Parrots Point, Greensboro, Georgia. I am one of the partners in the investment company that bought into this property. We feel like the property is in a great location to service more student housing. It's within walking distance of the college. We know that there are other like properties that are adjacent to this property. I think there's been some other properties also adjacent that are across the street that have been rezoned to multifamily. And I'd like to speak in favor of it being passed.
Thank you, sir. Randy, are these geared towards student housing specifically, or are they townhomes that have
Well,
other uses?
It's kind of evolving as we go along. You know, we originally thought student housing, but after talking to some realtors with some of the needs with some of the colleges, with whether it be professors or
Right.
whatever, that we're now considering
Sure.
a truly townhome.
Good deal. Any other questions? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Is there anyone present who'd like to speak in opposition of these amendments? Hearing none, this concludes the presentation of evidence. I would like to entertain a motion on ordinance 1706-011.
Motion we approve and go along with the findings of the Planning and Zoning Board.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
I guess you're waiting. When you can I ask him a question at this time?
Yeah, I think it'd be fine.
Or
I
does
think it'd be fine.
Is that discussion
You can
among us?
If you wouldn't mind, just stand right there, it'd be fine, Randy.
Yeah, you can say. When you said it's evolving, what does that mean in terms of so regardless of what you do, this still needs to be rezoned in order for you to do it. So at what point will you know whether it's going to be student housing or housing for smaller families or faculty?
Young professionals.
Young professionals.
It's just that we, with different realtors, and we have to do our own investigation on what they're telling us.
Mhm.
But with as many student housings that's come about,
Right.
we feel like this may more, be more in need and can bring us the same, be worth our while to do the investment as more as a townhome for the professors, young professionals, whatever it may be.
Mhm.
But it's strictly just, once we go down that road and seeing what that need looks like, determining what what the end result will be.
But the floor plan would be similar to.
Would they be
typical
basically the
townhome.
same, or, yeah, that was my next question.
The floor plan would be the same regardless of which, end user we end up going after. We had a picture of the townhomes that are kind of like these, which are the ones that are just right down below it.
Yep.
As far as the proposed look, we've got to go through the full-blown site plan and all the guidelines with building to meet, to see what that's going to be looking like. But
Mhm.
our end user, it's still kind of up in the air right now.
And that being that's who you would market to
That's correct.
more than anything? Okay, so it's not necessarily how you're going to build them or anything of that nature, but where your projected effort goes toward trying to get people in there.
Are yours
Okay.
going to look similar to those right
That is
there?
our plan.
Because the man that owns those does a very good job with them. He always keeps them clean, and I've never had a complaint on them. So I hope y'all will do as good as they have.
That's our plan.
Any other comments, questions?
So,
Thank you, Randy. No other comments? That being the case, I'll ask the clerk to call the roll, please.
Mr. Chambers,
Aye.
Mr. Reynolds,
Aye.
Ms. Shinholster,
aye.
Dr. Lee,
She just can't vote.
She can't vote.
She's
Mr.
abstaining.
Mullins,
Aye.
Ms. Walden.
Aye.
That motion carries. At this point, I'd like to entertain a motion on ordinance 01706-012.
Mr. Mayor, I motion that we accept the findings of the Planning and Zoning Board and approve the request.
I second that.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll ask the clerk to call the roll.
Mr. Chambers,
Aye.
Mr. Reynolds,
Aye.
Ms. Shinholster,
Aye.
Dr. Lee, Mr. Mullins,
Aye.
Ms. Walden.
Aye.
And that motion carries as well. Moving on to new business, I'd ask the clerk if he would read Resolution R1701022 by caption.
A resolution authorize a revocable license agreement with the Board of Trustees of the Twin Lakes Library System to allow the placement of base station radios, antennas, and associated hardware at city park locations for the deployment of Wi-Fi services in city parks to extend optimum Wi-Fi coverage in the parks to the public.
You've heard the resolution. Do I have any questions or comments? May I entertain a motion?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second on the resolution. I'll ask the clerk to call the roll.
Mr. Chambers,
Aye.
Mr. Reynolds,
Aye.
Ms. Shinholster,
Aye.
Dr. Lee,
Aye.
Ms. Mullins,
Aye.
Ms. Walden.
Aye.
That motion carries. Next up, I'd like to ask the clerk to read Resolution R1701023 by caption.
To designate the August 18, 2017 Hometown Celebration as a community festival sponsored by Main Street Downtown Development Authority, to permit public consumption of alcoholic beverages in open containers while upon public streets or recreation areas, to establish a control zone within the festival, to reaffirm the rules designated by the Community Festival Ordinance.
Having heard the resolution, do I hear a motion to adopt?
So move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll ask the clerk to call the roll, please.
Mr. Chambers,
Aye.
Mr. Reynolds,
Aye.
Ms. Shinholster,
Aye.
Dr. Lee,
Aye.
Mr. Mullins,
Aye.
Ms. Walden.
Aye.
And that motion carries. At this point, I'd like to ask the clerk if he would read Resolution R1701024 by caption.
To renew a construction contract with G Techna to supply moving and parking violations and back office software and hardware to allow the police department to issue traffic and parking violation tickets.
You've heard the resolution. Do I hear a motion to adopt?
So move.
Do I have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll ask the clerk to call the roll.
Mr. Chambers,
Aye.
Mr. Reynolds,
Aye.
Ms. Shinholster,
Aye.
Dr. Lee,
Aye.
Mr. Mullins,
Aye.
Ms. Walden.
Aye.
Motion carries. Lastly, I'll ask the clerk to please read Resolution R1701025 by caption.
A resolution for the purpose of clarifying Resolution R1706-017 as required by the Georgia Environmental Finance Authority for strict compliance with their format.
Having heard the resolution, I hear a motion to adopt.
So moved. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Jimmy, can you clarify what this is exactly?
Yeah, what this is the, you guys have actually already adopted a resolution,
Of what?
but the GFA folks informed us that we needed to utilize their resolution form. And so that's the purpose of this.
Is to
It
use-
says the same thing, but it is in language that they claim they need to package the loan
In order to do
and
it.
so forth.
Okay.
So that's all. That is absolutely
That's all it is.
is.
All right.
Any other questions, comments? Hearing none, I'll ask the clerk to call the roll, please.
Mr. Chambers,
Aye.
Mr. Reynolds,
Aye.
Ms. Shinholster,
Aye.
Dr. Lee,
Aye.
Mr. Mullins,
Aye.
Ms. Walden.
Aye.
And that motion carries as well. There are no alcohol license applications nor any appointments to consider tonight, so having no further business to consider, I'll ask the or entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Hearing no objection, we stand adjourned. 15 minutes.